In the book Fierce Empire, there is an idea of Lex Humana, the alternative for Pax Americana. Could you describe a possible Lex Humana for the Arab world, especially for Syria? And
Well, yes. I mean, when I talk about lex humana, I am talking about the law of humanity, the law of the human species working together cooperatively. And one of the problems of the Arab Spring is that the Arab Spring has happened one state at a time. Independent states in Egypt and Libya and Syria are each trying to achieve their own independence and their own independent democracy. And in the modern world, you can't do that. You need interdependent democracy. You need an interdependent awakening. You need an awakening in which Morocco and Libya and Yemen and Egypt and Syria all work together to change the culture of the entire region. You cannot change a culture of a region one nation at a time. And the trouble is these revolutions are being made in an 18th century model, one at a time, no cooperation with others, no reaching out to others. And the result is they come under the force of national sovereignty and local culture, and that makes their progress much, much more difficult. So Lex Humana calls for the common pursuit of common revolutionary goals across many countries at the same time. And when each country tries to have its own revolution, its own democracy, its own independence, as has happened today in Egypt and Yemen and Libya and Tunisia, you see that it is much, much more difficult to succeed. And the result is that in those countries today, there has been very little real progress towards a democratic, pluralistic nation. And although you have overcome military dictatorships, the dictatorship of Mubarak or the dictatorship of Gaddafi, in its place now you have either chaos, civil war, tribalism, or the triumph of special interests. In none of those countries do you have anything resembling a common civil society, a common citizenship, and an integrated nation. Now, those things take time, to be sure. But right now, we live under an illusion, the illusion that if you overthrow a tyrant, you automatically get democracy. When you overthrow a tyrant, you get anarchy, you get instability, you get civil war, and very often over time, you get renewed tyranny. That happened in the French Revolution, where a few years later you had Napoleon and then the restoration of the monarchy. It happened in this Russian Revolution, where you didn't get democracy, but you got the Soviet dictatorship. It happened in Iran in 1979, when the overthrow of the Shah led to the dictatorship of the mullahs. So by itself, revolution cannot make democracy. To get a democracy is the hard, slow work of building citizenship, building education, building civil society, and building pluralism. And the nations of the Middle East and North Africa have a much better chance of achieving those when they cooperate together across borders. You know, back in 1917, Leon Trotsky said, no revolution in one country alone. And he was right. He made it clear that Russia could not have a successful socialist revolution if the rest of the world remained capitalist. Today, I would argue, no democracy in Libya alone, Egypt alone, Yemen alone. They have to work together and get democracy across borders. If they don't, their revolutions are likely to fail and to be succeeded by renewed dictatorship.
well, you mentioned democracy and problems connected with it. How and if should we react when citizens of the Arab countries elect an undemocratic ruler in free and democratic elections?
Well, there's no way you can react. I mean, one of the problems of democracy is not about elections. Democracy is not about voting. It's about responsible citizenship. It's about the public interest. It's about governing in the name of common goods. And to do that, you need educated, competent citizens, and you need a pluralistic civil society. If you have voting before you have citizens, the outcome is mobocracy, is the tyranny of the majority. The only way you can have a real democracy is by developing civil society and citizens first. But voting comes after you get citizens, not before. And when you have rebels and individuals and self-interested special interest groups and tribesmen voting, you don't get democracy. You get the chaos that you have right now. So, voting is the last step, not the first step in a working democracy. The first step is civil society, civic institutions, citizenship, education for all, and a sense of public goods and a sense of the rule of law. Elections without the rule of law simply puts the majority behind the forces of chaos.
Okay, let's talk about your bestseller. You said that none of this power will win. I mean, Jihad and McWorld. And I have the next question. Is it possible the third power-like movements, Occupy Wall Street or Anonymous, will become an alternative? Do you see any future of this movement?
Well, certainly social movements like Occupy Wall Street and some of the poor people's movements in the first world and some of the social movements in the third world are an attempt to provide an alternative to both Jihad and McWorld. And I admire them and I participate in them, and I am hopeful that they will have some influence. But the reality is the power of sovereign nation states, the power of international corporations and global banks, the power of market capitalism, and the power of Hollywood and Madison Avenue, and the merchandising and marketing industry far outweigh anything that you can expect right now from social movements or from Occupy Wall Street. So right now, my prediction in Jihad versus McWorld, that you would have a contest between the forces of global capitalism and global commerce on the one hand, and global reaction and global tribalism on the other hand, continues to describe the world. And as I said then, and it remains true today, democracy is not advantaged, is not benefited either by Jihad or by McWorld. Neither Jihad nor McWorld are interested in democracy, are interested in public goods, are interested in equality. McWorld is interested in benefits to shareholders. Jihad is interested in stopping modernity and overcoming the world. Neither are interested in real democracy.
Okay.